Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down one of the most powerful and honestly most important features of Next.js, its routing system. Nailing this is really the key to building web apps that feel fast, scalable, and just intuitive. So, let's get into it. You know that feeling when you're clicking around a modern website and it feels incredibly responsive? It's all about smart navigation. For what we call single-page applications, the whole goal is to move between different views without that clunky, old-school full-page reload. Now, that's a tough problem to solve, but Next.js has some really elegant solutions. So first things first, let's start with the absolute basics. How do you simply connect one page to another? How do we build the fundamental pathways of our application? Well, the answer is the link component. This is your go-to, your bread and butter for handling navigation. All you have to do is import it from next/link, and then you basically use it just like you would a normal anchor tag. And it's just so simple. You just wrap your button or your text in this link component and give it an href. But here's where the magic really happens. Behind the scenes, Next.js automatically pre-fetches the code for that linked page. That's why navigation feels so instantaneous. And the best part? It works with server components right out of the box, which helps keep your app blazing fast. Okay, but just having links that work isn't quite enough for a modern app, right? We need our navigation to be more dynamic, more intelligent. What if we want to give the user some visual cues, or maybe trigger navigation from something that isn't just a simple link? And that brings us to our next challenge. How do you highlight the active link in your navbar to show a user, hey, you are here? And what about programmatically navigating? Like after a user successfully logs in, you need to send them to their dashboard. A standard link just can't handle that kind of logic. So for that visual feedback, we use a really neat tool called usePathName. It's a hook and it's a total game changer. It literally just tells you what the current URL path is, so you can really easily apply a special style or class to highlight whichever link is active. And for navigating based on user actions, we've got another essential tool, the useRouter hook. This gives you direct programmatic control over the router itself. It's absolutely perfect for situations where navigation depends on some kind of logic, like a user clicking a submit button and then you redirecting them. Now, the router gives us two really key methods, push and replace. Think of router.push as a normal click. It adds the new page to your browser's history, but router.replace is different. It swaps out the current URL. This is amazing for something like a login flow, right? After a user logs in, you replace the URL so they can't just hit the back button and accidentally end up on the login page again. Super useful. Okay, so our navigation is getting pretty sophisticated, but as our app grows, a totally new kind of problem pops up. Our project folder starts to become, well, a complete and utter mess. I'm sure you've seen this. You start out with just a few route folders in your app directory and everything's fine. But before you know it, you've got dozens. It's impossible to tell which routes are for marketing, which are for authentication, and which are part of the main application. It gets chaotic, and it gets chaotic fast. Thankfully, Next.js has a brilliantly simple solution for this: route groups. All you do is create a folder and just wrap its name in parentheses. That's it. This little trick tells Next.js, hey, use this folder for organizing my files, but completely ignore it when you're creating the URL. And here's the aha moment. Your app directory is suddenly clean. It's logical. All your marketing pages are neatly tucked away in a marketing group, your auth pages are in auth, but the URLs themselves stay nice and simple. This makes your project so much easier to navigate and scale. All right, so our app is nicely organized, but now we face the ultimate scaling problem. How on earth do you handle content where you have hundreds, thousands, or even millions of potential pages? Of course not. Can you imagine trying to create a new folder and a new page.tsx file for every single blog post, or for every product in a massive e-commerce store? It would be an absolute maintenance nightmare. It's just not possible. And this is where dynamic segments come in and save the day. Instead of a normal folder, you create one with its name wrapped in square brackets, something like blog ID or product slug. This special syntax creates a dynamic route. It's like a single template that can handle an infinite number of different pages. So this one single file inside that blog ID folder acts as a blueprint. When a user navigates to, say, /blog/hello world, Next.js uses this page component and literally hands you hello world as a parameter.
You can then use that parameter to fetch the correct blog post from your database and display it. This is the absolute key to building at scale. We've solved organization, we've solved scalability. But there's one last piece of the puzzle: performance. You see, by their very nature, dynamic pages are built on demand when a user first requests them, and that means that first visit can sometimes be a little bit slow. This is the pro move, the expert-level optimization. Next.js gives you this special function called Generate Static Params. Inside your dynamic page, you can export this function and just give it a list of all the page IDs you want to pre-build. So for a blog, you might tell it, hey, go ahead and pre-build my 100 most popular posts. And you can actually see the magic right in the build output. Before, your dynamic route is just a single server function waiting to be called. But after you use Generate Static Params, you get all these individual pre-built static pages. This means they are now just plain HTML, ready to be served instantly from a global CDN. You get the incredible flexibility of dynamic routes with the raw speed of static pages. It's the best of both worlds.
So let's just quickly recap the incredible routing toolkit we've just put together. We started with the humble link component for basic navigation. Then we added some intelligence with the use pathname and use router hooks. We tidied up our whole project with route groups, scaled it to infinity with dynamic segments, and finally, we supercharged its performance with Generate Static Params. You see, mastering these concepts isn't just about connecting pages together. It's really about architecting fluid, fast, and scalable user experiences. This is the foundation for building truly professional web applications. We hope this explainer has given you the map you need to get started.